everybody. It's Jeff Antoniuk here. Guided listening this Friday. We're going to listen to some Cannonball Adderley playing with some fantastic Brazilian musicians. The album is called Cannonball's Bossa Nova. I want to say this is from 1963 and featured Sergio Mendes on the piano and his Bossa Rio Sextet something, sort of a studio group that he had together. And of course, Sergio Mendes, very, very important force in music in Brazil and Rio, and then came to the United States and became, did all this amazing work as a producer, as a player, as a writer, everything else. So it's pretty cool to hear, a bebop giant, post-bop giant like Cannonball playing bossa novas with, kind of really legit musicians. And now, a fun thing about this, we've picked the song Batida Diferente that we're going to be listening to, which I believe means a different beat. Now, I'm a Ukrainian guy from Canada, so don't trust my Portuguese. Yeah, probably not. This song is one that we're using this July 2023. We have the JazzWire Virtual Summer Summit, July 14 through 16, and then the in-person Summer Summit, July 19 through 22. So we have 11 faculty members. We have 70 people from around the world attending these things. All adult musicians. We've got some high school and college scholarship winners, but it's mostly adult folks. This is one of the songs we're working on. If you're watching this in real time, we have one spot left for the virtual session. And I want to say we have one drum spot, one bass spot, and one horn spot. So, strings, trumpet, trombone, any sort of melody instrument. So almost sold out. So grab one of those last spots. This is one of the 14 songs we're going to be listening to and playing together, right? So I want to listen to this. It's a really short little 3.5-minute recording, and especially listening to this great Brazilian rhythm section and sort of what it sounds like and how they're playing. It's a pretty cool little arrangement, and of course, just getting to hear Cannonball play over these great changes. One of the interesting things, this is not the most standard song that every intermediate jazz musician in the United States knows. One of our participants inside JazzWire, really great alto player, she pointed out, you know what? These chord changes are exactly the same as the song Misty. I've played this song for decades and I never realized that. And yes, she's exactly right. Except for the last little bit of the bridge, this song is the same chord changes as Misty. So that goes to show us how related all the jazz repertoire is. Whether it's a Brazilian bossa nova written by a Brazilian dude, whether it's an Errol Gardner song, whether it's a Billy Strayhorn song written 30 years before either of those. Fascinating stuff. So let's get into it. Cannonball's Bossa Nova. This is called Batida Diferente. Cool intro. Cannonball being Cannonball. Here's the tune. This is the melody. Cool little fills there. Now listen for Sergio Mendes on the piano. Do we even hear him yet? We're hearing guitar, of course. Okay, so there's piano way in the background. This is something we talk a lot about inside JazzWire and the Summer Summit. How does guitar and piano come together? You're getting a master class from the experts right here. Woo! So that awesome bluesy break that Cannonball plays after this very major melody. So that cool decision that he came to just come in sideways on that one. So listen to the stick on the rim of the drums. So he's improvising a little bit more now. One of the things he was playing was on, off. So you can hear he's sort of improvising with that idea. And that's the way a jazz player knows the standard ride pattern on the cymbal, but they would improvise with that a little bit. See if you can tune into that clicking sound. And as we get moving, he's getting busier with it, isn't he? And Cannonball, just playing all the vocabulary we know from him in Brazil with these Brazilian guys. So was Cannonball somehow playing Brazilian music? Had he read a bunch of books? I don't think so. Cannonball's being Cannonball over these great jazz changes. Sergio Mendes. And the guitar, that amazing engine between the rhythm of the guitar and then, there's the closed hi-hat, but, the rhythmic content of the drums. It's so powerful and so pushing ahead. I love those little breaks at the end of each A section. Not typical in the song, I don't think. Woo! Like every one of those breaks is something every sax player or jazz musician should learn. They're just classic melodic moments that we should all know. Tag ending. Ooh, dynamics. Wow, okay, that's pretty slick. Using dynamics, who ever thought about that in jazz? Okay, so 3 times tag and that decrescendo. Pretty interesting. So now I talked through most of that. I, talked over Cannonball solo and talked over Sergio's solo. So go back and listen to this. You can find it on wherever you get your music. I'm not going to name any names, right? But you know where to find music, and that's where I found this. So, which kind of bugs me because, of course, the artists aren't getting paid almost anything. It's none. Okay, we're not going to go on that soapbox because I just used it. All right. One of the things I want to talk about here a little bit is when jazz musicians play Brazilian music, they drag. So I've heard this 50,000 times from my students, adult students, college students, high school students, whoever it was. I've experienced that myself. When I'm playing with great Brazilian musicians, I feel myself behind all the time. But here's the thing. Brazilian music is supposed to be all chilled out. Like these guys are wearing white linen suits and like the big hats and sunglasses. They're chilled. This is relaxed. This is beautiful. So here's the thing. Yeah, true. Get yourself a linen suit. Find your sunglasses. But how leaning forward in the time it was, but not rushing. How there was a relaxed, just floating vibe, but oh my God, it was intense, where it was kind of forward on the beat, certainly not back. So jazz musicians, the swing feel has a lope to it, a sort of behindness to it, right? So I hear it all the time. I'm talking about pros. I hear it from pros that when they play bossa novas, they speak with the same jazz accent, which, that's interesting. We're jazz players. Perhaps we should keep that accent. But it tends to be behind. So when you listen back to this or, notice how far forward it is, like how they're leaning forward, but then how it feels like it's floating too. It's fantastic stuff. And so that's what you listen for when you're listening to great Brazilian musician. Even when it's like a relaxed bossa nova, listen to the intensity of the time. And there's almost always a forward motion there. And we've been, somehow brainwashed to think that it's this, that it's laid back, it's chilled out, just because it's soft, there isn't an intensity. No, don't confuse all that stuff. It can be floating. It can be soft. It can be beautiful. It can be relaxed as it's moving ahead. That's a big deal. So yeah, that's something we're going to be talking about in the virtual summit. One spot left in the in-person summit, which is here in the Washington, D.C. area. I think there's, like I said, 4 spots left, across 2 or 3 different types of instrument. So yeah, that's a big deal. And if you can't join us for the summer summit this July 2023, First off, we're going to be doing it next July. We do a winter summit, so there will be more coming. But if you have a musician friend that you think this would be right for, send them to the website, of course, right? So go back and listen to this. Check out the album. I mean, it's a great album, and it's so much fun to hear all this bebop sort of superimposed over the Brazilian stuff, and that idea about the feel. Check that out. Think about that. Listen to some of this music, and it's possible I'm even correct. Let's see. All right, everybody, have a great week. I'll see you next time.